was I too early? Dang it.
You were always so early.
No, this is the first time in like...
You know what? It's been a month since we've done one of these.
Months and months. Yes, I feel a bit rusty.
Or is it just performance anxiety?
No,
Steven is here.
Steven is here in the background.
And all of this is somehow going to find a way to make it into the video.
Yep.
And it's going to be great.
Yep.
Well, welcome to House Party.
Yeah, for the first time in not that long. For me, it's been a long time.
Well, for a lot of people, it's been a while.
Yeah, a lot of you did fun stuff on May 25th.
That's true, but we had 2 weeks off before that.
Yep.
So it's
been a while.
It's been a month since we've done one of these videos.
Yes. I am so happy right now because the fact that this video is playing means that I am at my house party for the first time in a long time.
It's going to be the first time for the rest of your life.
What?
I know. What?
That doesn't...
Isn't that a weird phrase when people say that?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
That's weird.
Well, hey, we got some announcements for you. You want to talk through them?
Oh, I do.
As he tries to remember what they are.
I do. I want to talk through them after I think through them. We probably have, what are we doing? Oh, okay. Mission Strip is coming up pretty soon. Yeah.
Yes,
yep.
But spots are already full.
Right.
So if you're not signed up, RIP.
Right. Yes. Rest in peace. But we don't have student night the first week of July.
We do not, but there's actually something beginning on Monday.
Oh, right. Yes. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Chad, you guys all know Chad. He is going to be leading a class for 7 weeks that is actually going to be 8 weeks because we're taking a week off for the mission trip, but it's a class called Big Questions.
Mm-hmm.
I remember what it was like to be younger, to be newer in my faith, to have a lot of questions about God and about Christianity.
Yeah.
And
Still
honestly, yeah. But a lot of times we don't create space for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's just this assumption just believe what you're supposed to believe. And it's like, well, yeah, but questions are actually a really good thing.
Yeah.
And it's really healthy to have doubt and to have a space to be able to talk about that. So Chad is leading the class. It's open to anybody who wants to be a part of it. It's going to be Monday mornings, 9:30 to 11 down at Zoe's Cafe. We'll have coffee. We'll have donuts.
Cool.
Snacks.
That sounds awesome.
So if any of you guys did the class last year, it's like that, but different.
Nice.
So yeah, it's going to be pretty good. And then... mission trip house parties for the next few weeks.
I know.
There is no student night on the first week of July, though.
Right, we said that.
Which is kind of sad.
Yep. But for a whole month, we've got stuff going on. That's so good.
It's going to be really, really, really good.
I know.
Cool.
All right. Well,
we got some slices.
Slices.
All right, what do you got, man?
I read about there's this turkey in Washington, D.C. who's just been attacking random people.
Amazing.
And
I love that.
The authorities have been trying to find the turkey, but he keeps evading the police. They keep calling the cops on this turkey, and he into the woods, and and then they can't find him. People, there's this, it's either a picture of a video of someone trying to fight the turkey off with their bike, and they're just
and the turkey was probably having none of that.
Right, yeah. And thinking about it, turkeys, they're a formidable opponent.
Them and ostriches.
Right, yes. Yeah. But yeah, so there's this turkey. Benjamin Franklin wanted the turkey to be our national bird instead of the bald eagle. And so maybe this is the turkey's revenge in Washington, D.C.
Well,
to regain its place.
Okay, but if a turkey was our national bird,
yep,
it's not a really good look if we're eating it all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? We're not eating a bald eagle.
Oh, here's a question: if it was our national bird, would we ever eat turkey like we do?
Well, we had already been eating turkey at that point.
All right.
This gives me a really good idea, though. I think they need to have a TV show where they bring a bunch of contestants on and then they pit them against animals in a bare knuckle match. Can you imagine how cool?
What if the person wins?
Well, then it's great. But
then they're just beating up animals. That's the show.
I know, but
there's just this contestant who just beat up a turkey.
But what if you put a midget in there?
What?
But then you fighting a kangaroo?
No, this is a terrible idea. This is bad.
PETA's gonna be calling me.
This is bad.
Hi,
yes.
PETA. I don't care what you think, PETA.
Man.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So my
slice. What's your slice?
Do you know what happened 18 years ago in Granby, Colorado? 18 years ago this week.
Did it involve a tractor?
Yes.
All right, I do know.
It is the Killdozer incident.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you guys haven't heard about this thing, you got to look it up. I mean, it's a sad ending, but there was a guy who had like a muffler shop.
Yeah.
And then the city zoning committee basically decided, hey, we're going to allow a really big factory to get built right next to you. We're going to destroy the road and the access to your muffler shop. We're going to basically cut off all of your water and power. I mean, this guy tried to fight it. He went to the city council. He was like, guys, you're killing my business. They didn't care. This guy lost everything, right? His company went under. He lost his whole livelihood.
Yep.
And so this guy, he had bought this bulldozer because he's like, hey, like, let me help you guys do some of this stuff. Like, I'll even build my own road to get into this muffler shop. They said no. So he decided that he was going to turn this thing into a tank.
Yep.
And he put bulletproof glass all over it, like thick 3-inch armor all around this thing. And then on June 4th, 2004, he proceeded to drive through all of this factory and just destroy these buildings while cops are out there shooting at this Killdozer. They're throwing explosives at it. Nothing could stop it. And this guy, he's like, he left a note. He ultimately took his life, which is like really sad.
Terrible.
But the
Great story.
The note that he left, he's like, look, I'm a reasonable man, but sometimes even reasonable men must do unreasonable things. But that's a part of Granby's history, right? Like, this was national, global news. Yep. And I don't know, like, maybe sometimes you just got to build a bulldozer and go bulldoze some walls.
Didn't he like level a McDonald's?
Yes.
I think he took out a McDonald's.
I think he took down something like 13 different buildings.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that though? Like, you just wake up one day, it's like, today's the day.
Yep. Take that, Ronald.
Anyways, Colorado, very interesting place. We got a lot of interesting things that happen here.
Yep.
But this is one of them.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Guy's name was Marvin Heemeyer.
All right.
R.I.P. Had to bring it back.
All right. It is time. We are starting a new series. We don't have a name for the series, but the next 4 weeks, it's all...
We can call it Stuff We're Talking About.
Stuff We're Talking About.
Stuff we're talking about.
Maybe we'll come up with a better name for this and give it to Steven, who's here. Hello, Steven.
And you guys are going to notice all the video editing is going to be way better now because he is actually a professional video editor.
Yes.
He's an independent contractor.
I think he needs a badge.
Whereas me, I'm just a next-gen wizard for a few more weeks.
Yeah, come say hi, Steven. Come. They probably won't hear you, but you should at least like bend over and wave. Yes, hello. There he is. Okay.
That's Steven.
All right. We are going to be okay, a lot of you're kind of asking these questions of like, okay, like I'm getting older, what is my purpose? What am I good at? What can I accomplish? Like is this all there is to life, or is there something bigger that we're all a part of? And it's like, can I be a part of it? Do I want to be a part of it? A lot of stuff like that. So, and like, who am I and what's my identity, and do I have value and worth? I think all of that is going to be encapsulated in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So we're going to start by looking at a verse. It's Genesis chapter 1. If you don't know where that is, it's in the beginning.
If you don't know where the beginning is, it's all the way at the left.
All the way to the left. Well, not all the way.
Pretty close to all the way.
Yeah.
Although, realistically, most
to
of
the
them,
top. Yeah, it's
they're
at the
looking
top.
on their phone.
Yeah, it's at the top.
So if you open up a Bible app, it starts with a G.
Genesis 1:26. Then God said, this is the part of the Bible where God made everything. Okay? All right. That's important context. Then God said, let us make man, or humanity, not just men, but men and women. Let us make humanity in our image. What does that mean? After our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish. It'd be funny if it just ended there.
Aquaman!
Dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds, and of the heavens, and over the livestock. Hey, this lends itself to your TV show idea where people beat up animals.
Exactly. Dominion. We can get it on. Let's see if PureFlix will play it.
No, they won't. And over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing. This is so funny. This totally backs up your idea. That creeps
Biblical.
on the earth. All right. All right. So in that verse is said something that is thrown around a lot in Christian circles. Maybe you've heard it before, maybe you haven't. But it's this idea that we are made in God's image. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and what it means. And we're going to leave it like pretty open-ended so that you guys have a lot to talk about. We're kind of going to leave it a bit mysterious, but maybe kind of fill in the gaps a bit.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to bring up is this was written and shared to the Israelites right after they escaped slavery in Egypt. So they had spent like 500 years in slavery, and that's all they had ever known. And then Moses, this guy with this really big stick, he parted the Red Sea, he shares this with them for the first time about how God made everything. And when he said everybody is made in God's image, that was a really big deal, because in Egypt, there's the Pharaoh, and he regarded himself as basically a god and a representative of the gods. And so in that sense, like, people viewed Pharaoh as being made in the image of God. Mm-hmm. And he was elevated above everybody else, especially the slaves. And so there's this idea of like there are only a few people who God has chosen to make in his image. Like, these are kings, basically. But after they escape Egypt and slavery for 500 years, he tells the Israelites, God actually made everybody in his image.
Well, and I think that's a really important thing for you guys to wrestle through, because just the state of the world that we're in today, like, there's a lot of people who don't believe that there's anything really all that special about humanity. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like, we just evolved. We're just more advanced animals, right? And so you'll hear a lot of stuff about like, well, we should be protecting the animals. We should be doing all this kind of stuff. But like, one of the things that I think Scripture teaches unapologetically is that we're actually different than the rest of creation.
Right.
Right? There's something unique and special about us.
Right.
And we're not just like the other animals, right? We're not just a more evolved version. Like there's something, and it's not like our physical bodies or anything like that, but there's something inherent within us. And I think we all kind of know this, like deep down, like there is something special about people. Mm-hmm. All right, this is why like when we see somebody else in need, right? Like great example, like I think about it's sad that we have a lot of mass shootings that happen in our world, but I remember when the one happened down in Aurora, there were people who were total strangers who were diving on top of people they didn't even know to try to protect them. Yep. It's like, well, what would drive you to do that? That's not like that's not like a natural instinct that we have. Like, I think we know deep down that there is something unique about people, something unique about humanity that makes a life worth being protected. Because that's our world today. Like, back then it was just like, no, the pharaohs are the ones, but like now we've even got to really kind of fight to help everybody see like, no, there's actually something unique just about people in general.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's really cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, to the people, like the Israelites in slavery, like I wouldn't be surprised if they got brainwashed into this idea that they weren't important, that they were expendable, that like they were kind of useless, that they weren't valuable, that they were worth nothing. Otherwise, they would get paid for their work instead of like enslaved. And this was a really big deal because this said the opposite. Yep. And that makes me think of a lot of you guys of just like, I don't know, like how many of you listening to this have started to get bought into this idea that like you're not important, that you're not valuable, that you're worth nothing, that you're useless? Because in the same way, like this verse that we're talking about, it shares that the opposite is actually true.
Well, and I love that you hit on that, because like I think the data, it actually backs that up, right? Like when you look at things like anxiety and depression and suicide, specifically amongst your guys' demographic, your guys' friends, like it's ridiculously high. And when you talk to young people, like that's one of the things that they'll all kind of point back to. It's like, well, my life has no meaning. My life has no value. Mm-hmm. It would just be better if I wasn't here. And it's like, well, no, that's not true. Mm-hmm. Like at all.
Yeah.
Like without you guys around, the world is not as cool of a place.
Yep.
Like, you really do matter. And I think the gospel is the only thing that really gives a clear and compelling case and reason as to why that is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so there's a whole other layer to this too of like being made in God's image means that we do a lot of the things that God does, and which might sound weird. It's like, well, what does God do? But like I don't know, like I look at my little kids and they're like creating things and they're like making up ideas that nobody had ever taught them before. And like this verse comes out of the story where God creates everything and he's just like, well, I'm going to make this now. And that's exactly what we do, of just like, well, I'm bored, I'm going to do this now. And we have these creative ideas and like we joked about like having dominion over these things as a TV show where we physically beat up animals. Like that's a terrible idea. But it really means of just like kind of taking ownership of this sandbox, real life environment that we're in. I mean sandbox in like the video game term. Like the whole world is not like a big sandbox. But like it's ours to do creative things with, and we have this ability to manipulate things and influence things so that things happen that wouldn't have happened unless we were the ones that made it happen. Like I was listening to this podcast, they're kind of talking about it like a vegetable garden. Like if you have a bunch of dirt, it's not just going to automatically grow vegetables, but you have dominion over it. And you till the soil and you take out the weeds and you plant the seeds and you water it and like vegetables grow, and that wouldn't happen unless you did it. Like this whole world is like this garden. We are these gardeners, and being made in the image of God, we get to like come in and do things that haven't been done before.
When I think when you even take it from like that Genesis narrative and you even hop into like the New Testament, that's what this whole idea of building the kingdom is all about.
Yeah.
Where like God essentially says like, hey, there's this thing I want to do, but I want to do it with you. Right? So there's this world that I want to create. There's these things that I want to see happen, and I'm going to do it, but I'd rather do it with you. Right? You know, there are certain times, as a parent where there's tasks that I want to accomplish. And look, I'm going to get these things done. But a lot of times I'd rather invite my kids to be a part of that experience with me so that they get the joy of accomplishing something as well. And I really feel like that's what God invites us into. It's like, hey, like there's all these amazing things. If you want to know what those are, like go to the book of Revelation, go read the Gospels. A lot of this stuff is like super, super clear there of like what God wants to do. And he's saying, hey, I've gifted you. Like, let's go do this thing. This is going to be really fun. And that's what it means to be an image bearer, right? Like there's this intrinsic worth we have, but it's not just about what we have. It's also about what we're invited to participate in.
Yeah. Okay, I see another layer to this too, like being made in the image of God. Especially like these people like being born and growing up in Egypt, something that they saw all over the place were these statues and these idols of all these different gods. And these statues were made in the image of these gods. And here in Genesis, it says that God made us in the image of God. And we're not supposed to take that too literal. Like he doesn't look like me or Nathan or
he may have a beard though.
Yeah, maybe Steven who's over here. Yeah. But like idols were thought to be these things that have this special connection to God. And here it's like if we're the ones made in the image of God, it's almost implying that we have a special connection with God. And when God says in like the 10 Commandments, don't make any images of me and worship them, I wonder if part of that is like he already did a pretty good job of doing that in us.
Yeah.
Not that we're supposed to worship us or like lean on any individual of like a pastor or like some cult leader of like, oh, they've got this really special connection with God. It was like, no, but like the point is like we have this connection with God, whether we know it or not, whether we've tapped into it or not. And that could be a really fun thing to explore.
Yeah, and especially how it's like when you look at the idols and all of those cultures, it was all about the physical, right? The tangible, the thing you could hold on to.
Yeah.
But when it comes to God, like, man, none of that is this physical, tangible thing you can hold on to, right? Like when you talk about the image of God, it's often these very intangible things. When you think about things like grace and mercy and love and compassion, like I can't hold compassion in my hand.
Yeah.
I can't hold love in my hand.
Right.
But I know it when I see it.
Right.
And I know it when I experience it. And that's that kind of connection piece that you're talking about right there.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, we don't want to give too many things away or lead you guys too much. We'll leave this pretty open-ended.
Yeah.
But there's at least a few things that I think are important to like really lay down. One, it's like you are on purpose. Like,
Yep.
You're not a mistake. Even if your parents, like I was an accident. My parents weren't trying to get
Why would a
pregnant when I
parent ever
came
tell a kid that they were an accident? I didn't plan on having you. Accident.
Well, hopefully because it was like a happy accident. But I don't know. Like, I hope none of you have been told that like you're not a happy accident. But like, you are not a mistake at all. Like you're on purpose. Yep. Like you were created. You didn't just like.
Well, like, that's Psalm 119, right?
Right.
You were created. You fashioned me when I was in my mother's womb. Like God had a very specific design and plan for you.
Right. And you were created in the image of God, which means you have value. Like you're very valuable. Like you're very important. And this also means that you have a purpose. We're not going to jump too far ahead, and like you guys can talk about it right now if you want, but at least Nathan and I, we're not going to talk about what that purpose could be or is. But your life isn't just about existing and dying, but there's something way bigger and cooler to be a part of.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say before we go?
I feel like I could beat up a kangaroo.
All right.
All right. Well, hey, we got some questions that we have sent out to your guys' house party leaders just to kind of prime the pumps a little bit for the conversation. But take this where you guys want to go. The whole heartbeat is giving you guys a space to talk about this stuff because we think it matters. So have fun.